Hello, hello, beautiful people, mi gente bella. Welcome to another edition of Santana Says, where we talk about everything from Roblox to relationships, everything in between, and the overall journey of life. If you have been following along, there has been a little break. Because, life comes, y'all, and we take our time. But to be honest, it was summer break is what really happened. We had absolutely done our Dope Dad series. We ended on a high for a second there. And then I got a new job. So to be honest, I started dedicating a lot of time to that. Because as y'all know, when you first start your new job, you got to learn a whole lot and do the things. Does that also mean that I am fully employed outside of podcast life? Absolutely. I think I have spoken about it before. But yeah, this is definitely something, you got to grow your craft, y'all. So I absolutely have something that I do on the side. Now, mind you, we gonna manifest this. I will eventually be a full-time entrepreneur. It's gonna happen, but I am not personally there yet. And that's why I love bringing on individuals on the show who can tell you all about what that looks like. I know I've brought on people who have 9-to-5s and they love it, you know what I mean? And that's their lane. And I know that I'm have an audience, right, full of people. Some of y'all are entrepreneurs, some of y'all are not. So I love that we can cater to both. But yeah, me personally, I do love a mixture of the two. And so the new job, the cool thing is, y'all, I got to stay at the same school that I am at, and I am super excited about it because I love them. I have been there for 4 years. I did not want to part ways with the school, but I was willing to part ways with my previous position just because 4 years, I kind of was ready for something new. I want to see what else is out there. And the uncertainty of funding, was affecting my job actually. So thankfully, they still had positions, but layoffs did have to take place. And so I was going to be one of the people that did not have to get laid off because of my seniority. But I chose actually to leave because I was hoping, honestly, that I could save somebody else's job, but also because I was ready, like I said, for the new opportunity anyway. And the new opportunity that presented itself, look how God works, y'all, is that as I was looking for something new and wondering what could be my next step, the person who was the lead clinical therapist at my school was on her way to another district. So she was on her way to working for some other individuals. She was low-key, not just another district, low-key a whole nother city. So it was just she was moving on, but she was going to stay with the company. And it did free up this entire therapist position at the school that I know and love while I had already gotten my licensure, because y'all heard it. I did get it last year. And so I have my licensure. This position is open. I'm looking. Why not? But it was also the most beautiful opportunity because my principal and guidance counselor, low-key, did an interview for me behind my back. I was a meeting that was happening. They were asking questions. They were like, well, can Miss Santana apply for this position? Because I didn't know that I could. I thought it was independent therapist or something that they were looking for. But come to find out, no, you could. With my licensure, you actually could work for them. It's just that a lot of people don't always look at agencies like these because they're used to working for private practices, maybe on their own or whatever it is that they do. But if I wanted it, the opportunity was mine to apply for. So I took it, y'all, and I got the job. What? And so for a month now, I have been operating as a clinical lead therapist for my school. And I still see therapists outside of that as a therapist. I'm not the therapist for therapists, but I do see other clients outside of that also. So I have been still trekking, y'all, still trekking. But here's the other thing. So I also am glad that we are back for what is now Hispanic Heritage Month. So it is Hispanic Heritage Month. I love it. Latina all day, Boricua hasta la muerte. I am absolutely Puerto Rican, proud of it. Y'all know y'all have heard me talk about it. What else have y'all heard me talk about? Afro-Latinidad. So let's be clear. Black Latina up in here, love to say it. We'll always proclaim it. And happy to own it. You know what I mean? And so that is happening. It is Hispanic Heritage Month. And so Hispanic Heritage Month, why do we have it? Because first of all, we still need to bring attention to Hispanic contributions to the world. That's also why we have a Black History Month. So, part of it is a little sad, right? Because we're not just a part of society, we have to unfortunately make it known what we do and why we're important. But at the same time, it's also a fun excuse to be louder, about our celebrations. So I love it. I do love it. Julio de Burgos in Cleveland, Ohio, is this cultural arts center. I'm definitely shouting them out. They decided to kick off Hispanic Heritage Month in a super cool way. I wasn't able to make it to the event, but I always know and love everything that they do. So I'm gonna talk about it anyway. They had wonderful dancing. They had, of course, artwork like they've been doing. They added some more vibrancy to their building. Like, they're just dope. You know what I mean? So, y'all know I love dope things. So they get that shout out for sure. Our city also did decide to put on a really cool event, and actually to kick off Hispanic Heritage Month. They also recognized a few individuals, movers and shakers in our community. So all of those parts were really, really cool. The other thing is that over the summer, we did have the Puerto Rican Parade and Festival that does take place here in Cleveland. And we also had the Dominican Festival, which is in its baby stages, but doing well. So I think it might be the second, maybe third year that they have done it. Puerto Rican Parade has been around actually for around 50 years, but I just think it's really cool, that could be part of the foundation. And now you're seeing other cultures also rise up, do their thing. We do have a sizable Dominican population here in Cleveland. We're just a melting pot in general, much like the entire country. And so it was really exciting, honestly, to see all of those things springing up. And summer was lit for me and the girls. The only thing is that it did look a little different. Usually we do take a lot more trips over the summer, and that was not able to happen because my mother, who was going to go with us to Puerto Rico. We were definitely already scheduled to go to Puerto Rico. And so she actually underwent her second open heart surgery. And so that obviously meant a lot of recovery. It meant slowing down, for sure. And it meant checking in on her. And I can happily report that she is doing well. And I am so, so grateful. This is one of those moments where you're just like, you got it. Because it was definitely nerve-wracking. I remember actually, though, being very calm about it, and thinking that I don't think that it's going to go badly. But I started talking to other people, and their concerns kind of rubbed off on me. And then all of a sudden I felt myself starting to get nervous about it, only for it to go better than expected, y'all. Her surgery actually ended quicker than it was supposed to go. Her recovery has been going so phenomenally. She's already getting physical therapy. Come on, you know what I mean? So and it absolutely helped that my mom was someone that used to drink alcohol in the past. It's something that I have absolutely disclosed here, but I'm also proud to report she's not doing that anymore. And so that actually helped her recovery to go also so much better. So I mean, it's a great time. It's a great time. Our country, however, y'all, there has been some things that have definitely been taking place. And the other thing that September is Suicide Prevention Month. And so not only do I have always, y'all know me, I love bringing attention to that, but in general, things have been really heavy in our world. And I never want to ignore that, right? I never want to fail to acknowledge that. And I never want to not bring attention to that, or at least recognize it at best. And so the thing is, I am also not a political commentator, but I definitely want to make sure that it is known that I definitely have seen how discussions about things like Charlie Kirk, they were very interesting because there are a lot of beliefs that are tied to it. And so what I want to make clear is I'm not going to engage in one way or the other. What I'm going to say is the part that I want to bring a highlight to, that I've heard individuals name, and I want to make sure that I'm among the individuals that also name it, is that his death and murder, it was a murder, was something that rocked a lot of individuals, but his murder was not one of just a regular individual. He was somebody that had a voice, had a platform. He was exercising his platform when he got killed. So this definitely was someone that held a lot of influence. And there are some individuals that are trying to minimize that influence by reducing him to someone who is just a faith follower, a believer, right? A man of God. And it's just that, like my good sis, Lene, Vinny, had said, And I hope I'm not, mispronouncing good sis's name, because it's so funny because I'm just not used to saying her name, because I'm just so used to saying it's Friday. You know what I'm saying? Parking lot. It's Friday. I'm gonna keep it black, but I'm gonna keep it brief. You know what I'm saying? So like, I'm just so used to like her commentary, which is excellent, by the way, that, I'm not used to always saying her name. However, respect to her. She is actually now a sis on the network as well. She has been signed to Revolt, so we gonna shout her out, because every time people deserve their flowers, I'm gonna definitely say it. And we just had our black, our wonderful black actor that was just recognized for getting being the first black man to get an Emmy. You know what I'm saying, for outstanding, what was it, like, supporting actor? But it's the fact that, like people were saying in the comments, the fact that it's still 2025 and we're celebrating first means something, y'all. Means something. We still got work to do. We do. But as my good sis said, this was actually an act of political violence, because this was a political commentator. He did comment on political topics. And so, like, I do not make a career out of doing that. This man did. And I do think it brought up a lot of things for a lot of people. And I think that what was rightfully mentioned is that none of us are condoning what occurred to him, but all of us are, or a lot of us are, saying that it is not fair for there to be selective outrage when things like these occur. And so if we're going to be upset about his death, and what occurred to him, we should be able to reserve some of that energy for other people that have been murdered as well, for all of the individuals that were, murdered by police, that were murdered in the line of, protesting, that, Martin Luther King was not the only man that was killed for unfortunately believing in, a cause. And neither was Charlie Kirk. And there have been, but we don't get a lot of coverage for it, right? It doesn't even get mentioned. Like, we don't necessarily hear Sandra Bland, his name anymore, or George Floyd's, but you're gonna hear it on the show though, right? Because I'm definitely would never want to forget about any of those things. Right. And these were individuals who also did not deserve to die. And as she mentioned, and as I, of course, like I said, want to echo, they also had families. And also, Selena, I always love shouting out Selena Pagan. She also made an incredibly poignant and wonderfully articulate and just incredibly thoughtful post about it as well, where she also mentioned how, these kind of things have been happening a long time. A lot of people have been very frustrated about it, and we're not hearing people as upset about that. And a lot of injustices have occurred in our country for long before this. And this man was also pushing something, that he cared about. And unfortunately, he got killed in the midst of defending it. So that's the other thing that occurred here. We're outraged about something that he felt very strongly to defend. Other people have done the same, and you haven't heard as many things said about that. But I do think that at the end of the day, of course, I care about humanity. So absolutely, I don't think that any person deserves for their life to be taken from them. Absolutely not. Not as a violence prevention advocate. No. But I definitely think that this isn't the first instance of violence that we've heard. And this isn't the first time that violence has been part of a movement, or, any part of any revolution or any movement, like I said, initiative that has taken place. And so we've seen it before. And we've seen it now. And I think what has been interesting is, much like when our president was elected, we were able to see a lot of the beliefs that certain people have. And I think that what was interesting for me, especially as a Christian, is being able to see how it can be used. It can become divisive, and it can actually divide a lot of people. And even with something like Christianity, where all folks believe in one God, we can still go about that in different ways. And the values that people attach to that can look a lot differently. And so for me, I think violence is wrong in all forms. But I also think pushing fascist or other imperialist and also just other oppressive agendas at the end of the day will always be wrong as well. And so I never like seeing that either. And so I don't stand for any of it, right? So I don't stand for murder, but I also don't stand for oppression either. I also don't stand for injustice. So like, I'm equally as upset about all of those things. I don't choose to only be upset about one of those things. And I unfortunately have seen that happen. And so I just think it's interesting because it's definitely the filter that we didn't expect. I once again was able to see very interestingly how certain people were very vocal about this, but were very silent when other things were taking place in our country. They are the, same people who, when they're seeing genocide occur, because that is quite frankly what has occurred in our country, and we have funded it. We have funded wars that we don't necessarily don't see happening here, even though they can, and have in the past, and very much could if certain moves continue to be made. We have definitely seen it. We have funded wars that have happened overseas. We have definitely been responsible for a lot of lives of innocent people being killed, and those shouldn't have happened either. And I said, so I want to make sure that got said. And so, and as fans of the show, I would hope that that's something that that you can at least appreciate. But I understand that I'm speaking to a wide variety of audiences. So I've always said that I understand that not everybody's going to necessarily agree with those topics, but it's definitely something that I've noticed. But I am a therapist who is a proud Latina therapist. I'm a proud therapist of color. I'm a proud Black therapist. And the thing is, I have never been able to separate cultural identity from the work that I do. It is inextricably combined. And so and I love being able to do that, because there are certain individuals and clients that I have seen who have beat themselves up for having faced discrimination, for facing microaggressions, at work, in the workplace and beyond, who have absolutely felt targeted, for their beliefs, for their identity, something that they proudly hold, and they have been made to feel guilty about those things. They've definitely felt attacked by it. And they've questioned themselves, over it. Like, is this, and a lot of them have been willing to endure suffering simply because they did not want to hold the positions they had, especially if they worked in corporate America. Okay, if you worked for a corporation, you have seen this more than anyone else. Corporate employees have unfortunately faced so much stigma, so much suffering, and so many things that it's unfortunately the reason why I continue to be employed as a therapist. I love what I do, but sometimes I'm just like, wow, if it wasn't for all the mental health issues in the world, I wouldn't have a job. But unfortunately, there is no world that exists where you will not have mental health issues going on. Like, we are set up in a way with all this pressure that we face as Americans, with all this pressure we face as humans, and with all of the things that take place in our world, there ain't no way you're going to see this disappear. But I love to be a part of it. I have had so much fun being able to do it. I find it the most incredibly rewarding thing that I have ever done in my life. And I actually love that now I get to do it in every facet of my life. So now I get to do it full time with the new position that I'm doing at school. I get to do it in the evenings, on weekends, like with other clients that I get to see. And I still get to do it with other presentations and workshops, and even with this platform here. So I love being able to bring attention to those things. And I love acknowledging that you should be proud of every part of who you are and should not be stigmatized, targeted, or judged for it. You shouldn't. And if it's happening, it's wrong. And you should not have to suffer through it silently just because you do not want to hold or lose any privilege that you have that is unfair and unjust to you. And I actually have someone that I know that was willing to actually take a stand against that. There are many people that have. And unfortunately, have they had to lose things in the process? Absolutely. But did they lose their dignity? Better believe that they did not. They did not. And so they were able to maintain that sense of internal pride that nobody can remove from you. And so that is the thing. Many people have tried, right? And many people have used very successful tactics to silence folks. But the good thing is that those voices absolutely still exist. I'm saying your value is still very much still here, and you absolutely still matter at the end of the day. And I'm glad that there are still people behind you, much like myself, who want to continue to see you, push those things forward. And so I do not want you, like I said, taking steps back on that or thinking that that is not something that you should be participating in. You absolutely should. But I know that there are also individuals who don't see those things, who do not feel like those things are taking place in our world. And that's great, but I'm not talking to you. Right. And so, as a result, if the message isn't for you, then, please know that it's not, because I also think we've been taking a lot of things. There are a lot of individuals who take so many things personally in our world that are not intended for them. If the message ain't for you, then keep it moving. You know what I mean? Please understand that there is somebody else that will receive that message, and we are absolutely talking to them. Because if you already feel justified in the things that you're doing, then you don't need validation from someone like myself. But there are other individuals who are constantly questioning themselves, and I definitely want to make sure that they know they are supported. I want to make sure that they know they're not alone. And I want to make sure that they know they have a community behind them, because I am not by myself. I went recently to a healing, you know what I'm saying, a workshop. Shout out to all the amazing poets that I know. You know, you've seen some of them on the show. Substantial is amazing. Substance, but only substantial on Instagram, but substance is the truth. There was actually, I didn't even go, but I'm gonna shout it out. There was actually this really cool like power, poetry, and prowess, I believe, event is what it was called. Incredible event. I'm gonna definitely be shouting out to that or connecting with that person as soon as I can, because they brought poetry and I believe it was singing and dance and, you know, all with the very great empowering message. And I will definitely be in the future doing my own event. So just wait here. You'll hear about it here first, but I can't wait to also be doing that and contributing to that. And just, we're gonna keep building up new spaces, y'all. Y'all will not have to look hopefully far or hard, you know, to be able to find something that can help you and validate you. You won't have to look, like I said, hopefully any further than where you're at now. So I love that, you know, we can continue to contribute to those things. But with all of that being said, I definitely think that, as always, I just think that we should definitely encourage one another as much as we can. It is a time where we need to definitely lift each other up. And because it is Suicide Prevention Month, what I wanted to make sure that got said is I have brought attention to suicide on the show before. And I have definitely made it known, of course, that it's very important and that there are individuals who are more at risk for suicide, especially when you start to take into account LGBT members of the LGBT population. And so like trans individuals, unfortunately, those numbers skyrocket when it comes to the individuals that do commit suicide. When we look at our Black men, there are many of them that are unfortunately committing suicide. And thankfully, we have organizations that are dedicated to that. Project Lift, for example, even here in Cleveland, like we have initiatives because we know it happens. And so I know it's always that uncomfy thing when we hear it said, but we know it's the thing that's taking place. And you will always hear me uplifting that because I don't ever want to stop bringing attention to that part as well. And the fact that I know a lot of people, there's a lot of people that unfortunately have completed suicide, but there's such an incredible amount of people that have considered it. And I think that that is just how difficult, awful, terrible, sad, tragic that you can get to a point where that is what you're considering. Like, that is exactly why I also love being a therapist, is knowing that I want to help curb some of those thoughts. But I know that I'm one, you know what I'm saying, who is trying to help. But I'm not the only force that's out there that individuals have to come in contact with. And for some of them, it can be so overwhelming that yes, ending their life is the best option that they can consider for themselves. And I just definitely there's nothing that I want more than to provide a message that challenges that. But I understand that for some, it's hard to hear that, right? In the midst of everything that they're experiencing and with everything they're going through. And when individuals start to withdraw, you know, you see them start to just want to just be by themselves. When their behavior seems to change, like all of a sudden they might be acting more irrationally or more angrily or opposite, more depressed, you know what I mean? And so like you're seeing these behavior changes, you're seeing them withdraw, you're seeing them not interacting as much with other individuals, you're seeing them low-key not, you know, not participating in the things that they did before and just becoming a shell of who, you know, they once were. But also they talk about it, they say it. A lot of individuals who are committing suicide, this isn't a secret that they take with them. They have voiced it. And I want to make sure that it's clear that we know that, and I know that that is scary for folks. And so usually when we hear that, our first thought sometimes is to, you know, either make fun of that, make light of that, or distract ourselves from that. Like, okay, well, that's cool, but like, what else you got going on? You know, or like, what you about to do this weekend? Or that is not the way to help someone. If somebody is coming to you and they have voiced a cry for help, we should listen. We should listen. And if we're not the person to help them, we should direct them to someone who can. We should connect them. 988, thankfully, is still a service. I got very nervous that it was going to be a service that was not going to be available, but it is still here and we can still use it. And we can hopefully connect individuals. I have heard that it is not perfect because it's run by humans. We're not perfect, right? Like AI apparently is trying to help, I guess, like fill in the gap with some of the flaws that we have. So AI is something that a lot of us love to use, but it is not a replacement. For us, I think that's the only thing that's interesting to me is because we see it permeating in society. So it's almost like, it's almost everywhere. But at the end of the day, nothing will ever replace, human interaction, right? And that, human connection. But I know that it is a great tool, and I think a lot of online communities can also be great tools. Some of them are harmful tools. But 988 is a tremendous resource for those who, may be suffering through that. And a lot of times individuals do need someone to talk to. And so, and if you're not that person, understood, but sometimes you can be that person. And I think you just don't give yourself enough credit, because sometimes individuals just need someone that will listen. Sometimes individuals just need to know that somebody cares. And sometimes individuals just need to feel love. And I know I've mentioned love on this show before, a lot because it's the way that I carry my life out and it's the way that I lead. But I have been coming across a lot of individuals who feel guilty because they want it, because they want love. And they beat themselves up because they went searching for love in a place where it was not reciprocated. And so there must be like some fatal flaw behind that. It's not, it's how you were built. You are meant to crave it. You are meant to desire it, and you absolutely deserve it. You do. If, however, you are not getting it in a healthy way, then yes, you deserve to look for it elsewhere, and hopefully end a situation and be willing to instead of staying in it. But you absolutely are meant to crave it. You're also meant to share it, and you're also meant to practice it. And so I think the part that I want to do more of, always want to do more of, is actually practicing what love is, though. So not just saying it to others, not just preaching about it on here, but it's just like engaging in what the act of love really is. And it is an action. And it is something that we do with others. I was just having a recent conversation with another past guest, Edward, about bell hooks and how bell hooks has a tremendous book on this very topic. But it's something that I have said as well, because I've heard it in different instances with bell hooks, of course, in her book, but also and in her work. I mean, it was just a way of life for her. I've also heard it in the Christian space, in like faith spaces, not just Christian ones, but, and I've just heard it overall from different leaders. And I myself have definitely seen it. When I have shared love with others, I absolutely have gotten love back. And even when I haven't always gotten it reciprocated, it doesn't stop the love that lives inside me. It doesn't. And I love having that. I love carrying it, and I love having joy. And for a long time, I didn't have joy. I can remember many times where I was also in a dark place. And now that I have it, y'all, I ain't interested in losing it. And I'm not interested in being around anybody else that doesn't want to also grow that with me. I do come across individuals where I get to help them, rediscover their sense of joy as a therapist. But my circle is full of people that just want to bring joy to others. And I also have to also be remiss if I don't shout out my mental health group. It now has a name. It is called the Soul Circle. I might have mentioned that with Abby when Abby was on here. But such an incredible group, y'all. We're going into year 3. We are going into year 3, and it's such a incredible space. And like I said, I have many different spaces, a lot of things that I do, that y'all know about. But that's also one of them. I have that group. It is such a source of light. It is such a source of encouragement. We've done so many great things recently. We always end our year in August and start back up in September. And so we are going to be kicking it off. But when we ended our year, we ended it at our lake house like we always do. Our lake house retreat. One of our members has a lake house. She always offers it to us. She's incredible, Maribel. You're amazing. And so we were able to be there. But the conversation is always what is always the most striking, right? It's just those moments of just talking. But this time it was a bit organized. So it wasn't like completely organic, and awkward at first, right? Because people are like, what are we about to say? What are we going to talk about? But we shed a lot of tears around that fire. We definitely had a lot of encouragement that was absolutely shared, and validation that was spread for sure. once people were vulnerable, though. It was only when people were vulnerable and really opened themselves up that we really got to see that in action, when people were willing to admit things out loud. And it's what I love about the people that come on here. It's what I love about the people that I come in contact with. And it's what I love about the people that I continue to meet, because it keeps happening to me. I keep coming across incredible people, and I want to keep meeting other people. I have definitely seen y'all mention that, you want people to come on the show. Sometimes I can't always accommodate that, but I always welcome it. Okay. And so the feedback that you have, I always want to hear about it. And if you feel very connected to the show and want to talk about it, we can. If you feel drawn to be on the show, I want to know about that too. And we're going to make sure that we make it clear how you can do those things. I'll make sure that we roll some more of those things out. But at best, if you are a listener of the show, I want you to always know how much I appreciate you, and that you support it in any capacity that you can, or if it's even just the topics that are discussed here. As a supporter of it, I just want you to know that I love you and that I appreciate you, and I especially appreciate it here. And so I'm going to make sure that I talk about a lot of these things. I'm going to be bringing on some cool people that are going to tell you a lot more about that, about all things Latino, Hispanic heritage. But also, we're also going to have people who are also part of just some incredible initiatives, right? And all part of that uplifting and that empowerment, and who do really, really great work. I want to make sure that you meet them, know about them. There's actually a really cool list in Cleveland called the 100 plus Latinos that Cleveland must know. Some of them are not guests, but are people that have been on that list, and so they're going to be coming on. I was on that list back in 2020. It was actually the first time they had unveiled it, but I'm salty because it was the COVID year, so we didn't get as much shine as much as the other cohorts. It's just okay though, you know what I'm saying? We still a part of it. We started it off, but it's definitely a really cool, another way to gain more exposure and bring more light to people. And so that's why part of why I made the show was to also do that, to bring, more exposure to things that you may not always talk about, and introduce you to people that you may not know. But I love that there are other initiatives out there that are doing the same. So please know also that if there's ever a group also that ever hears these episodes and also wants to collaborate, my door is always open. My email is also active, and I am here to listen. And so my Gmail, I want to remind folks, in case this is your first episode or you just haven't known about it in a while, it's Santana Says Podcast at gmail.com. My Instagram is Santana Says with one underscore at the end. So Santana Says underscore. Santana Says all one word. And I did launch my business. My bad. So I don't know that I got a chance to say that, but I am the owner of the Power to Be LLC. That also has a website. And so Santana Says is also featured on that website. And so it's the Power to Be LLC.com. So again, the Power to Be, so T-O, B, LLC.com. So the Power to, and then B is B-E. So like not just the letter B, but B-E, LLC.com. Connect with me, y'all. You know what I'm saying? Book me if you want as well. Bring me out. I'm ready to, I would love to, bring out any other workshops, any programs. I'm available for all of those things. But at the end of the day, just at least have a conversation, let you know your seat, and let you know that I'm here supporting you. So thank you for getting to the end of another great episode. Thank you for always supporting. And if, you're hearing us after the break, or if you had been waiting on an episode, I'm glad that, just so you know, we are here. We are definitely in full force, and we're going to keep bringing it. And we have so many other great things that are in store for you. And I just hope that, as always, you feel good on Feel Good Friday, and always, and that you always feel good, love upon yourself, love others, and just spread love always. Thank you.